Whoosh. What's going on?
Not much.
What are we talking about today?
Oh, we're talking about cooking in anime.
Yeah,
Yeah, particularly cooking anime.
there's a lot of great ones. I mean, we obviously like Shokugeki no Soma, Food Wars is
Yeah.
like the one that we really got into
We
a
did.
few years ago. But like there's been a lot of like really cute, like interesting ones recently too.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I think the first one that we ever watched that like had a focus on cooking was Toriko, which
Oh yeah,
was,
Toriko.
which was technically more of a foodie anime,
Yeah.
and obviously not real food because they were in another world. But he did have like he teamed up with the chef guy, and so
he was an adventurer gourmet. Right?
Exactly, yeah, and he wanted to like eat all the best foods of the world.
Yeah.
But he teamed up with the chef guy, and so like there was like a whole sort of cooking aspect to it, and then obviously like Sanji and One Piece and
Right,
things
of
like
course.
that. But yeah, Shokugeki was the first like food focused anime that we really like fell in love with.
Yeah, that's like really like basically slice of life. Like nobody has like superpowers per se.
Yeah.
I mean, they have like obviously when people eat stuff and they like are having like fantasies, like otherworldly fantasies, that's one thing. But there's no like, someone has a special, superpower to make food.
Yeah, but one of the things that I loved when we started watching Shokugeki was that, they really actually taught you how to cook.
Yeah.
Like, they taught you different skills, they taught different techniques, and I started incorporating it into things that I made, and like and you could just sort of adapt it to different types of food that you're eating, but knowing specific techniques and understanding what certain terms meant was like, oh wow, I could have learned this, reading about it, but I wasn't expecting to learn it from an anime.
Yeah, I mean, I think what works so well in like Food Wars is like it really takes the idea of like food competitions that we were so used to with things like Iron Chef and all like the million Gordon Ramsay shows, and take that into the idea of this sort of shonen esque like school where like people need to battle for supremacy.
Yeah, well, and it was really kind of fun because before that, it sort of took the same route that a lot of sports anime do.
Oh, for sure.
There are so many things about it that, like you said, because it's cooking competition, they really did it the same way that like an Ice Shield 21 or a Slam Dunk or whatever. The battles are these intense battles of a very specific skill set.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool,
It is.
And obviously even those like sports anime like took a lot of inspiration from fighting anime and stuff, which is always like it's such a fun way to see those different ideas put into these interesting contexts.
Well, I think, the two ones that we've watched recently, because Food Wars we watched years ago.
Yeah.
That kind of like made us sort of want to talk about this was one is Delicious in Dungeon.
Yes.
Which is a really fun sort of fantasy world cooking show, which I really like because it feels very like it's very unique. There's really unlike Food Wars or a lot of these other cooking anime where like you can take the things that you learned and apply them to real life, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Can't really do that with Delicious in Dungeon unless you're finding like jewel insects or gold insects.
You're absolutely right. In terms of actually what they cook, it's the techniques they use are still usable. Because it's like talking about braising things and braising versus frying versus boiling, and so the techniques are still cooking techniques, but absolutely there is no analog.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Delicious in Dungeon is like it's very much like it's a fun fantasy, like almost family show. Like they're in a fantasy world and they're taking on these like fantastical beasts, and there's magic and there's knights and stuff like that, but it does ground it in the fact that like other than saving one of their members, one of the guild members, they really it's grounded in the food.
Yeah.
It's not like if we don't do this, the world's gonna end, or someone's gonna take over the kingdom. It's it's very much about like them essentially like cooking.
Well, I love that one that part of the reason that cooking is so important is because of necessity.
Yes.
You know, they need to save one of the members of their party that got eaten by a dragon.
Yeah.
So they need to get there, and they can't keep going back to go and find or buy food. They can't keep having to make the money to go find food. So what are they going to do? They're going to eat the monsters in the dungeon, and they found another party member that was sort of an expert in that, and your main party member, your main guy is like obsessed with learning about it.
I love that he's so obsessed with creatures, but he also wants to eat every single one he can. Even the ones that like, and his other party members like are like somewhere between like, we shouldn't eat any of this stuff to like maybe. But like, especially the ones that look like the merman. Yeah. That look like they're too close to like humans. They're like, we can't eat this.
Yeah. But like the funniest part is when they're so reluctant to eat something, and then they can't help it. They're, oh God, it's so delicious.
Which exactly. Which is like so Shokugeki, but every time is it Laos? Is that his name? The main character, the knight. Well, when the knight character in Delicious in Dungeon, when he like really just wants to eat something that nobody else wants to eat, it very much feels like Toriko to me. Because Toriko, I think one of my things about Toriko I didn't like is like there was no character that I felt like fundamentally I could relate to. Like it was mostly Toriko and his like little pal that was like cooking for him a lot. But I was just like, I was like, what is this world? Who is this character? And but I feel like with Delicious in Dungeon, I get the characters a little more, and I like really appreciate them. I actually really like the dwarf character.
Yes,
like the episode where like he had the golems that he was using as gardens.
Yes,
I thought that was brilliant. I'd never seen anything like that before.
And I really appreciated that the whole like thing about that was protecting the ecosystem of the dungeon, because like there is an ecosystem there, and when like things get disturbed, like it's all these things that you never think about, that they never bring up in other ones. And so like there's so much unique stuff that they do in Delicious in Dungeon that now when you watch any other one that like they're going into a dungeon, you're like, I wonder how the ecosystem is.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's taking care of those golems?
So the other show, because we can talk them all together.
Yeah.
The other show that we've been watching is Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill. Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah.
So many long titles.
Honestly, Campfire Cooking in Another World.
Yeah. It's an isekai.
Yeah.
Where it starts off like
they throw you in.
Right. It's funny, like, I think isekai has become such a standard trope now in subgenre really of anime that now they don't even have to usher you don't even have to meet the guy when he's living in Japan and then gets thrown through a portal. Now it's just like he's already into this new world.
Well, it's so funny because with so little they tell you exactly what's going on, because like there's 3 of them that got thrown into this world. There are 4 of them that got thrown into this world. Yes. 3 of them are clearly like meant to be there.
They all have awesome magic.
And then your main character is clearly a salaryman standing there in a suit, and he drops his bag of groceries, and you're like, oh, I get what was happening. Dude was picking up groceries after work and got sucked into this other world.
Yeah, but what's really funny is like all these 4 humans, like you said, they all get there and they all unlock superpowers, and like 3 of them have like lightning and fire magic, and his special ability is online grocery.
Yeah. Which is like, what?
Which basically means he's really great at ordering food online.
Yeah.
Which means any of us can be superheroes.
Absolutely.
Any of us who've ever used Postmates or Amazon Fresh or any of those. And basically from there, it's him trying to survive this world with a scary fantasy world with a semi-useless skill. And then in the first episode, I wouldn't even say befriends, but he becomes the familiar of this mythical beast that essentially just forces him to cook for him.
I mean, the thing is that his skill is absurdly useful.
Yeah, it is.
And that's part of it, that because he's an expert at online grocery, he finds the best ways to use the things from the online grocery, but also the things from the world there. And it's so interesting because he learns that things from his world that he gets from the online grocery, give people in the world that he's in now, if that like different effects.
Like stat buffs, yeah.
But one of my favorite things about it is this is one of those where your main character gets sucked into another world and goes, yeah, I accept this.
Yeah, he's fully, he's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, like he's like, there is not even an inkling of like, yeah, I'm gonna
get back?
Exactly. Yeah, no, he's just like,
he's all in.
No, like clearly his life was boring and he had nothing to go back to, and he's just like, no, I can do it. I can do this. This is my world now.
No, you're 100% right. It's kind of like in Howl's Moving Castle when she becomes an old lady and she's like, well,
this is what it
is. Yeah. It's really funny. I really liked this one because I feel like it has a little bit of everything, right? So it's like his relationship with Fel, this like mythical wolf creature, it kind of has that like Fel reminds me a lot of Kurama from Naruto. He's like this big, bold, like strong, like funny, like beast. So I really like their relationship. I also like that there's him figuring out the world, and I also like the mini economics in it too, like the difference between the money there and the money in our world, and how he needs to like, he figures out he can buy certain things from the real world, and utilize them in different ways, either to resell them for a higher price in the mythical world, or he can, like you said, he can give like he can up the stats of everybody, including Fel, and then there's other creatures that he starts befriending as the show goes on, and it's just like, it's really cute. It's really a good time.
And this is another one that it actually gives you real techniques, because he keeps on going like, oh, this fish, that beast, oh, this is like pork, oh, this is like this fish.
Yes.
And so he relates it to those, and then he uses products from the online grocery, and and they look, they're not brand named obviously, but you look at them, you're like, oh, I recognize that. And so they tell you, it's like, oh, soy sauce for this or lemon for that, and like he puts them together, and it's like, so once again you got another one where it's like teaching you actual cooking skills, like, but doing it in this really fun, wacky adventure setting.
Yeah, and I think I think between the three of these shows, what's really interesting is how food is focused on, because it's different. So Food Wars, food is the battlefield.
Yeah.
It is food. It is our world. Soma is the underdog of this sort of like greater food hierarchy world, but it's also very much like a shonen thing where he's Monkey D. Luffy, or he's Naruto. He's destined to be the king of the chefs.
Yeah.
And his father was also like a great chef, but he didn't realize how great he was.
Yeah.
You're a wizard hair, all that stuff. So there is those shonen elements we're all familiar with. At the same time, food is food there. We're not like, we don't have mystical stuff going on. It is very much, and I think that don't they have, I feel like they have Food War cookbooks you can buy. I feel like there was like, you can because like a lot of times like he's making like omelets or something, like some special omelet, and like there was that one character that she used like gastronomy, and there was the one character that was a rival of his that was like an expert in spices, and there was always like a
but also, one of the things that I really like in Shokugeki is that, food is so much more than food. It's food as food as nourishment, but it also talks about food as art, and it talks about food as healing, and all of the different ways that, food as culture, all the different ways that people sort of perceive food, and like, there was that one episode where they actually had to go out and like forage for things, and like, there are so many different ways that they really like dig, like food is as much of a character as the characters in it. And I think it's so cool, because like, because it's about a professional food like training school, it's like, okay, these are the recipes, but also plating is important, and all of those other aspects that you see on like Food Network, like competition shows and things like that.
And
it's just, it does such an interesting thing, the way that it like that you just learn about food in so many contexts.
Yeah, I think if you're like an actual foodie or you're like really interested in cooking, like Food Wars is definitely the one for you between the three.
Yeah.
I think if you just want to watch like a different type of fantasy show,
Yeah.
like if you like Lord of the Rings but want it like a little less stressful and the comedy to constantly be eating these creatures that they kill, like Delicious in Dungeon is definitely for you. And I think if you just want like a slightly less stressful isekai, that's really funny and cute, like definitely like Campfire Cooking is great. I mean, it's like super fun.
Campfire Cooking is also fun because like with Shokugeki, like I said, like I learned different techniques and was sort of like started incorporating things I'm cooking. But when it comes to Campfire Cooking, it's like, oh, here are the easy versions. Like, oh, I don't need to make, like, okay, so I could make that sauce, or I could just go pick, oh, that's the sauce they're using, and just order that garlic barbecue sauce.
Totally,
or, it's
your
like
your
the
superpower is basically like Amazon grocery or
right
whatever,
like but it's like it's teaching you how to cook for people that don't have time to spend like 40 hours in the kitchen.
No, I agree. I also think like a lot of the stuff they're using, like I'm sure it's like the WcDonald's, but like I recognize like a lot of those brands.
Well,
like I recognize like the miso garlic sauce and that one time that he got like the beer I recognize. He got one of the black coffees that we've seen in the vending machines in Japan. Like they're all very recognizable products.
No, they designed the cans, the bottles, everything off of actual ones, but then renamed them whatever they renamed them. So
where and it's also really funny too, going back like talking about food is like Shokugeki Food Wars. It's like very. It's funny because it's sort of like you take something that feels sort of normal and not mundane, but feels very kind of like, I guess boring is the only way I can put it. And it makes it like really seem like there's a lot of intensity and a lot of like stuff going on behind the scenes. You know, it's like, for instance, like the joke about like One Piece is it's just like a fun pirate adventure, and then you realize like it's all about like the world being run by like this like force and like the rebels, and it's like a whole greater story than just like pirates. It's like Food Wars, like it seems at first like a kid who works at a fast food noodle shop trying to survive in this world of gourmet chefs, but then slowly you realize like it's about the food industry as a whole, and there's a lot of these kids, and they have like they're like coming from these like corporate families, and there's these like structures, and there's like people trying to keep people from succeeding because of reputation or money, and it's a much greater thing than just like who can cook the best meal. But still, like a great shonen, it's ultimately like the passion and the time you put in and your abilities, helps you shine the most. Sure. Whereby I feel like, Campfire Cooking is literally just like you had said, like these certain items that you're familiar with sort of implant, like you have access to them, but you're implanted in this fantasy world. Which I think is like really fun. And I also wonder, like, because we're only like partway through the show, like, is it only, I'm assuming it's only grocery. I'm assuming you can't bring in anything that actually would super help other than like a stove.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, he got his stove from, but I think it's all, I'm sure he got his knives, probably from, So I think it's cooking food related things. I don't think he can order a sword. I think it's online grocery. It's not, online shopping.
He's not gonna get like a Mac 10 from
he can't get a bulletproof vest. He can't but he's not gonna need to get that stuff. Like,
well, it's funny too because you remember that other show we like, I found a cheat skill in another world, and I'm an unrivaled hero in this one too. That one also, there's elements of Campfire Cooking, like when he has the two pets, the two familiar pets, and he also like ate the vegetables in the other world and cooked them, and gardened, and they gave him like more power essentially, and like they were healthier than normal world snacks. So I do love I do love that trope, that isekai trope in general. But yeah, all these shows are really fun. I think
I just love how anime handles food. How food is like, again, food can be such an important part of culture and an important part of family and friendship and bonding and like, you know, and like, you know, even watching Way of the House Husband. There are those few episodes where he would teach someone how to cook something, or when he was trying to make a birthday cake for Miku, like, you know, they've put so much focus on these things and teach you how to do them, but like there's this beauty to how things are prepared, and like,
and that's just Japan in general, right? Like when we were there, we were surprised that, like, you know, everyone jokes about how the food in the convenience stores are great, but they are. It's because like there's no acceptance of triviality when it comes to preparing food. Like, you either do it right or you don't do it at all.
Yeah, no, it's like you see an egg salad sandwich in a convenience store in Japan, and you go, yes, that is what I will eat right now.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, I mean, if you can go to a place that actually, like, you know,
if you. Like, no. Yeah. Like, if you can go to a restaurant,
but like, this is all I want. Is an egg salad sandwich from a convenience store.
That is what I'm here for.
You're like.
I don't need your okonomiyaki. I don't need your sushi. I don't need your ramen.
Yeah. Get that Wagyu beef out of my face. Okay, I need this egg salad sandwich. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny too, because in Campfire, he talks to Fella about like how, you know, his country, like, they don't cut corners when it comes to food. Like, it's really important. I also, like, real quick want to say something. I really find it funny. He keeps on, like, thanking the Japanese food industry for like all of this like packaged food he has access to. It's not that, it's just weird. Like not in a negative way, but just in like a funny way. Watching it as an adult, you're like, this is such a funny thing to like thank you, like, food, because I feel like a lot of cooking is like, it's all about, you get the potato and you do it all from scratch, you boil it, it's like and this he's like I really appreciate the industry that creates these prepackaged meals.
I mean, the simple fact is that, like, for so many people, you don't have time to. Like, you're exhausted at the end of the workday. You don't have time to make everything from scratch.
Or like, who even knows how to make melon bread? Yeah, like, who's a normal person? You know? Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, I mean, there is things. One of the things that I did like in it, though, is that they came up with a very good way for trash to be dealt with. Because that, like, it was a funny thing.
I was starting to get like anxiety about it.
Well, in the first few episodes, they would actually focus on these piles of trash that he had left around. I'm like, what's he doing with that? Is he just leaving it there? That doesn't feel good.
I know. I don't like that. Yeah, don't pollute this world, this untouched world.
But then they brought in a way to deal with it, so he's not polluting anything.
Well, I mean, because he had said he was leaving his inventory.
Yeah.
So he wasn't polluting. But I also like too, he was like using the boxes. But it's so funny that it is so like getting food delivered. Like, actually, like, it's not like it like transports as just the food. It comes in a cardboard box, and then he has to open it, and it's like, it's so cute, it's so fun. Anyway, I don't know, I mean, these are great food anime. Are there any food anime that you guys really like?
Are there any foods that you tried because of watching an anime?
Ooh, that's another good question. All right, cool. Well, I'm just gonna go back and watch more anime now.
Yes.
All right.